Hi, this is Neily on Nutrition, continuing our conversation about fats, specifically triglycerides. Triglycerides are the major storage form of fat in the body and the primary source of fat in the foods that we eat. As a reminder about triglycerides, they consist of a backbone of glycerol and 3 individual fatty acids. The fatty acids differ in a couple of ways. The fatty acid might be a short chain, medium chain, or a long chain fatty acid. Most of the fatty acids in the foods that we eat, with a few exceptions, are long chain fatty acids. Also will vary depending upon how many double bonds it has. Now it might have no double bonds, be saturated, or it would have one or more double bonds, which would be unsaturated. One double bond would be monounsaturated, 2 or more would be polyunsaturated. You've probably heard about saturated fats or unsaturated fats. Well, no food or no fat is 100% saturated or 100% unsaturated. It's all a combination of what the majority of the different fatty acids are that make up the chemical structure of that particular fat. And talking about saturated fats, what we've learned is that not all saturated fats are created equal. Now, meaning that we know that many of them do increase our LDL, that's the bad cholesterol, which increases our risk of heart disease, but not all of them do. So does that mean that butter's back? Well, butter never really went away. But decades ago, when there was a big push to decrease the saturated fat in our diet, the message got a little bit twisted in that instead of just decreasing the saturated fat in our diet, overall fat declined, and as a result of fat declining, if we're going to decrease an entire macronutrient in one area, another one is going to take its place, right? And in that case, carbohydrates did, and not the good, healthy, complex carbohydrates and fruits and vegetables that we would like people to consume, but the refined, overly processed, highly processed sugars and refined products that don't necessarily bode well for our good health, and certainly didn't do anything good for our waistlines. And subsequently, there's a lot of confusion in the media over the past couple of years and in some research. But suffice it to say that all the leading health organizations recommend limiting saturated fat to less than 10% of total calories. And also regarding fats, they all have 9 calories per gram. And oils, in a tablespoon of oil, 1 tablespoon of oil has 120 calories. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, what I want to talk about is on this chalkboard behind me. It's a very busy and it contains a lot of numbers, but what it is a chart showing you the predominant fatty acid profile in most commonly consumed fats and oils that we consume. These are approximate percentages of the saturated fatty acids, the monounsaturated fatty acids, and the polyunsaturated, abbreviated MUFA and PUFA. And as you can see here, number 1 up on the list as far as saturated all the way down to the least saturated, coconut oil is 92% saturated. So you think, wow, if it's so saturated, why is it gotten such a health halo? Well, that's a really great question, and I'm going to address that in a separate video, so stay tuned for that one. The length of the carbon chain has something to do with it. Anyways, you can see here, predominantly the saturated fats are in our animal products as well as tropical oils. And again, like I said, not all saturated fats respond the same in the body, and also it's going to depend on somebody's genetic predisposition. What traditionally has been the highest monounsaturated fat has been olive oil, and 75% of the fatty acids in olive oil are monounsaturated, very heart-healthy fats in our diet. Another high one is canola oil. One other thing I want to point out about canola oil, and why I have it underlined, as well as walnut and soybean oil, is that they are good sources of omega-3 fatty acids, which I'll talk about in another video. I also have some asterisks by sunflower and safflower oil, and these traditionally are types of oils that have been polyunsaturated, but they have been manufactured with a higher monounsaturated profile. So we're seeing both of them on the market, and So there is a representation, again, just to show you that nothing is 100% saturated or unsaturated. It's a combination of the different fatty acids. What the research does show, though, is substituting polyunsaturated fats for saturated type fats does have a positive impact on the cholesterol profile. So it's a very prudent thing to do. Mentioned earlier, I also want to highlight that the leading health organizations, including the American Heart Association, the World Health Organization, Institutes of Medicine, and the latest dietary guidelines all recommend keeping saturated fat to less than 10% of total calories. And in some populations that are at higher risk, even less than that, less than 7%. So there you have a little bit more about the triglycerides. They all contain the same amount of calories, 9 calories per gram. And if you're interested more about coconut oil, omega-3s, trans fats, stay tuned, and I'll have some upcoming videos about that. Thanks for watching Neily on Nutrition, and we'll see you in some upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.